Shalawam. This is Hadassah Batsaiwan, returning with the continuation of the Nephilim studies that we've been looking at, and it has grown. It has grown because once you start unraveling exactly who these creatures are in this world today, then you will see that they have instituted devices. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. And not only devices, but we're also going to look at their technologies, because we know that they were, back in the days of Noah, they were advancing technology. And so we're going to look at the technology today. That's the next study, to see exactly what it is that these creatures are up to, and why we are not supposed to take anything for granted. We think that we are just being advanced in our lives. Technology is making us advance compared to our grandparents and our great grandparents and what they had. But that's a lie. That's a lie that they have sold us, to think that we need their technology to be advanced when already we had Alahayam. And he gave us all we needed to use and to have in order to live in this world. And life was simple. Life was simple. It's because of their technologies, it's because of them that has brought this world to the place where it is today, where it is incredibly wicked and dark and oppressive. All right? So when you look at these, okay, when you're living life day to day, all right, and you are encountering these things that we're going to talk about, you're going to think it's nothing. Everyone has whatever technology there is, everyone has a laptop, iPhone, what have you. We watch the movies and whatnot. So what? It's no big deal. But once you put it all together and you see exactly why they put these things in place, then either one of two things will happen. Either you will be completely awakened and appalled and be appalled, or you will remain sleeping and be in denial and continue on in their darkness, because that's the issue, and that's exactly what they had planned to do. All these things that they have created and done is to do one thing: to draw us out of the light and into their darkness, or to keep us in the darkness, never to see the light. And I know many people are going to be offended by these studies that I'm doing, because many people love technology. And if you love technology, then you're going to love the creators of the technology, which are the Nephilim and their fathers, the fallen angels. Yes, I know their fathers are literally locked in the earth, but the other fathers, the ones that control them, the Satans, the fallen angels. So that's where the offense is going to come from. All right. So this is going to be a long study. Just to give you a warning as well, that there are going to be some images here. I can't help but show you the images. All right. You have to see it for yourself. All right. And this particular study, yes, it is part of the Signs of the Times, the rise of the Nephilim, excuse me, the rise of the giants called the Nephilim. But I decided, okay, these next 3 studies, they're all connected to that, to the rise of the giants called the Nephilim, but I'm going to give them their own title. All right? And then we're going to finish off with the final fall of the Nephilim, which will have no images. Praises to the Most High, because looking at these creatures and the things that they have done in order to bring us to the place where we are today is quite disturbing. Yes, it is. So this is called part 1, their programming and brainwashing. All right. We will now address the evil tactics of the Nephilim being used today, called programming and brainwashing. We were unaware that these psychological devices were being used strategically against us, and to some degree still are, unless you're fully awakened. And from the moment we were born, they started to program us. But we're going to see something in a bit. Now, how is it possible to program and brainwash children? Through our parents, of course. The educational system and even the religious system continued with these evil devices. Speaking of the brainwashing and the programming. But what is programming and what is brainwashing? Brainwashing, according to the Merriam Dictionary, that's the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is a forcible indoctrination to induce someone to give up basic political, social, or religious beliefs and attitudes, and to accept contrasting regimented ideas. It is persuasion by propaganda or salesmanship. And a perfect example of brainwashing was in 2020, when the world was told that there was a disease out there, and it wasn't a disease, it was a hoax. And the ones that recognized it was a hoax went to the ones who believed to say to them, hey, don't believe the lies. And the ones that were not brainwashed were accused as and treated like criminals. Do you remember that? Do you remember those years? It was not too long ago. That is brainwashing. That is brainwashing. When you can't think for yourself, you only think the thoughts that are given to you to think. They give you the information, and that becomes your thought. And then they tell you what to do, that becomes your action. That's brainwashing. Programming, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is to predetermine the thinking, behavior, or operations or actions. And in this case, of persons. People will not know that they're being programmed or even brainwashed for the mere fact that these are subtle forms of manipulation and control as a mind control. Perfect example. People believe what they hear in the news. All right? And they will even parrot what they hear in the news. I'm talking about mainstream media. To think that it is the truth. And so, what comes of that programming is a behavior, a reaction, fear, becoming anxious, All right? Angry, even because you're listening to what the narrative is being put out there, and you're allowing it to manipulate your thinking and cause you to react. So you're not quite brainwashed yet. You're just being programmed first, because that's what happens. The programming comes first. And if you continue on believing the narratives, then you will become brainwashed, where now you will do what they tell you to do. You're not irritated by the fact that this thing is happening. You're now looking to them for the solution. That's brainwashing. Programming is when you believe it, but then you become irritated or angry or frustrated because you don't like what you're hearing. So you overreact. You react, but not in the way how they want you to react. Because what they will want you to do is to run to them to tell you how to deal with this situation. All right? And we can go back to 2020 with what was happening. There were some people that believed, but they didn't actually follow through with the suggestions, which is to go and take the toxin. Well, that will be after 2020. But some people were angry. They were annoyed because their livelihoods were being affected, and they just wanted life to go back to normal, and so on and so forth. And then they started questioning, but wait a second. They started questioning the programming, the narratives, because they weren't brainwashed like the ones who actually believed and did not question anything. That's the difference. That's the difference. Now, the ones that were listening to the narratives, if they had started to believe and continued on believing, then eventually it would have led them to the brainwashing. But as we well know, and we know full well, that many people, they rose up and they started protesting. Although some of those protests were created by the same people who created the hoax in the first place. All right? We cannot let ourselves be deceived, even though it may look like they're siding with us. It's not always the case. All right? These people, their joy is to see chaos and confusion. All right? So, mind control. Then comes the predictive programming, which aids in the programming of the minds and behavior of people. So there's this show called The Simpsons that people think is predicting the future, which is utter nonsense. It is predictive programming. The same people that are bringing about the evil events in this world are the same people that have created that show to make you think that, hey, this ridiculous show called The Simpsons is predicting the future. Utter nonsense. It's called predictive programming. Now, this is another tactic in which they use to cause you to be brainwashed into believing that, hey, The Simpsons knows, that show knows what's going to happen in the future, so I'm going to keep watching it and learn my future. Learn what is going to happen in this world. That's brainwashing. Anytime you think that a show can tell you what the future holds, you have to be brainwashed to believe that. There's only one person who knows the future, and that is Alahayam Yahweh. Not even the devils know the future. Well, they know their future is going to be in the lake of fire, but other than that, they don't know the future. All right? Only Alahayam can call the future from way, way, way back in the times of our forefathers. When they were in the wilderness, he spoke through Masha. He told Masha when he was on the mountain things that were going to happen in the end times. He told Hanawak things that were going to happen in the end times. His son came and told his disciples things that were going to happen in the future, in the end times. Only Alahayam has the power to see the future, and only he can 1000% correctly prophesy through his servants what is going to take place in the future. You can't even give it a percentage. He is perfect in his prophecies. Perfect. Devils can't do any of that. So you know what they do is they create the problem. All right? And then predict that this problem is going to take place at a certain place and time. They record it, as in the case with The Simpsons. And then in due course, they cause this event to take place. And then you think it's a prediction that came through. But it is not a prediction, it is a programming. It's another form of programming. So we have to be aware that television shows can't tell you what's going to happen in the future. And if it does happen, it's because they, the devils, are the ones who have created the issue and then brought the solution. Okay, a perfect example. They showed you the Trump man coming down the escalator and him becoming president. They're the ones who select who is going to be a president. They do it. Your vote means nothing. All right? It is who they choose to lead the country. And it happens in every country around the world now. So that was predictive programming. All right? Let's move on. Television was created for this purpose, and also social media that we have today. Because of television, we have access to their news, movies, and other television programs which subconsciously manipulate and control us in one form or another without our knowledge until now. So I know people depend on hearing the news, but the problem is with these mainstream news media, they're controlled and owned by the same people, the Nephilim, the children of the Nephilim. And that's why when you go from one station to another, one television station to another, they report the same news. They don't give you any other vantage point. It is only one point of view that they share, which is programming you to believe what they want you to believe. And then when you go now to an independent source, you realize, but wait a second, I thought they said that this was happening. It's not really happening. You want me to give another example? Okay. Back in 2020, when they were saying that the hospitals were overflowing with people, sick people, doctors were overwhelmed. All the news stations brought about this information to the masses, creating mass hysteria. And then independent people went and discovered, hospitals are empty. I know I've used this before. I'm just showing you. I'm just giving you the perfect example, and that is the perfect example. People that weren't even journalists, but just knowing within themselves that this is a lie, they said, let me prove to people out there that this is a lie. So they recorded it on their smartphones that the hospitals were empty. And yet, the people that were watching the news could not believe that the hospitals were empty. Why? Because they were brainwashed. Hopefully, now people will see through. Let me continue on. Yes, I didn't finish that sentence. Because of television, we have access to their news, movies, and other television programs which subconsciously manipulate and control us in one form or another without our knowledge until now. I think, yes, I did read it. I had to read it again though. Hopefully, now people will see through all of their strategies and reject them all. Before we are launched into these highly deceptive and demonic crafts, let us remember who we believe in and his mighty power over this darkness that has saturated this world. And his name is Alahayam, Yahweh. So let's look at the Barayam, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10, verse 14. Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens is Yahweh's, Alahayak, the earth also, with all that is therein is. Only Yahweh had a delight in your fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked. For Yahweh, Alahayakam, that's your Alahayam, speaking to the congregation, your, and Adawan o Adawanayam, Adawan o Adawanayam, a great Alahayam. I know it's a mouthful, right? A mighty and a terrible, who regards not persons nor takes rewards. He executes the judgment of the fatherless and widow, and loves the stranger in giving him food and raiment. Love you therefore the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Matzarayam. You shall fear Yahweh Alahayak, him shall you serve, and to him shall you cleave, and swear by his name. He is your praise, and he is Alahayak, that's your Alahayam personal, that have done for you these great and terrible things which your eyes have seen. So terrible there doesn't mean bad, just means awesome, great. Well, awesome, because he already has the word great there. But this is Masha speaking to the 12 tribes of Yashwa'al when they were in the wilderness, warning them and letting them know that they were chosen and their seed after them are chosen. All right? So we, the chosen of Alahayam, and also he spoke of the strangers. The stranger here is speaking of the Gentile. So those who are chosen of him, speaking of Alahayam Yahweh, chosen by him, whether Yashwa'al or Gentile, should not have any fear. Okay? They should not have any fear. The ones that aren't chosen, they need to be afraid because they're going to be destroyed. Now, despite what the sodomites of this world are doing to try to corrupt or to destroy the creations of Alahayam, he will protect us and guide us through this darkness if we circumcise our hearts. So this is the important thing that I want to drive home. All right? That we can make it through this darkness if our hearts are circumcised before Him. Meaning, instead of having a stony heart, living in denial, rebellion, sin, breaking his commandments, well, all that is sin. Being stubborn and stiff-necked, prideful. These are the things that harden our hearts, meaning you resist the truth because you don't want to change your lifestyle. You don't want to change who you are. You don't want to change the way how you think or what you're doing. All right? And that causes you now to become hardened in your hearts. Now, when you have a heart of flesh, then the truth can penetrate. And yes, it may bring conviction, but that conviction is to keep you in the light, it's removing the darkness. It's exposing any darkness that may have kind of trickled in. But you remain humble before the Most High and repentant before Him. And that keeps our hearts like flesh, soft. And the truth now can come in and do what it's supposed to do inside of us. And when we allow that, then the lies cannot penetrate, the darkness cannot penetrate. Meaning we are not able to be programmed. Therefore, we will not be brainwashed. If our hearts are hardened to His corrections, to His word and His Son, then we will be exposed for the evil spirits to take charge over us. That's the first thing you do, is influence us even farther away from the light, and then to even possess us. Because once Alahayam withdraws His spirit away from us, then it leaves room for the evil spirits to come in, to take over. You have no defense. Our only defense is Alahayam Yahweh. When we are filled with the light of Alahayam and with His Ruach, meaning His Spirit, then there's no room for evil spirits to try to take control of us or even possess us. They can't come in once He is in there, in our hearts, in our lives, in our minds. And that's why He uses lies and deception to cause us to take our minds off Alahayam and off His word, to believe in the lies, because that's the first step in drawing us away from the light, and the light to start to diminish inside of us. Because we know the truth, and the truth is the light, by the way. These same evil spirits cannot manipulate and brainwash us to believe their lies. So once you know the truth, then when the lies come, you know, okay, that's a lie. Right? That's a lie. A blatant lie. It is for this reason why we need to always cleave to Ha'aba more and more each day. The devils are becoming more and more elaborate with their schemes, where even the very elect will be deceived if it was possible. And Hamashiach warned us about this. Matthew chapter 24, verse 24. For there shall arise false messiahs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. We have to be very careful now because we're seeing signs, we're seeing wonders. And you know the narrative out there is pointing away from Alahayam Yahweh. And soon it'll be pointing to someone else. All right. We're not to be fearful of these creatures that are currently running this world. And we're speaking of the offspring of the Nephilim. They are subject to Alahayam and have to obey his every word and command. They don't have a choice. So everything that you see happening today, they're allowed to do it. That's why Hamashiach spoke in Matthew chapter 24, Mark chapter 13, Luke chapter 17, and chapter 21. He gave us a whole list of events that are going to come in this world, that is going to occur in this world. And he said, do not be deceived, one. He said, don't be afraid either. He said, instead, lift up your heads. He said, look up, for your redemption draws near. That's because he already knew that these devils were going to do these things because they're going to permit them to do them. Speaking of Alahayam Yahweh and his son, they're going to allow them to carry out their evil agendas. Why? Because the evil agendas is serving the purpose of Alahayam Yahweh, which is to sift the people on this earth, starting with the southern kingdom. People have to choose which side they're on. You have to choose who you're going to believe in. You're going to have to choose who you're going to worship. Right? So either you believe in the lies and the deception, you serve the devil, or you believe in the truth and you serve Alahayam Yahweh. And these events are there to cause us to make a choice. Who will we serve? Who will we believe in? They cannot do as they want, only what he permits them to do and even speak. When Alahayam Yahweh is ready, he can shut up the mouths of these devils or bind them so that they are restricted from doing their evil deeds. Knowing this, then, we ought to be confident as believers in Alahayam that the same power he has to bind or to loosen these devils is the same power that we can call on to do the same for us, as long as we truly believe in him and obey all of his commandments. And let me say this. If you call it on any other name except Alahayam Yahweh, he is not going to hear you, and neither he's not going to respond to you. All right? The only way that the devils can be bound or loosened out of the lives of people is through the mighty name of Yahweh and his son Yahweh. If you're calling on Yahweh or Yeshaya or any other name, you're calling on pagan gods. You're calling on the same devils to loose themselves out of people's lives. And they're only laughing at you. All right? We're coming down to the final hour. And yet we're playing Russian roulette with our lives. Our eternal lives. Either you're going to be eternally in the lake of fire, or you're going to be eternally in the kingdom with him. All right, let's read on. Matthew chapter 10, verse 1. And when he had called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of diseases. So this is Hamashiach. He called his 12 disciples and he gave them the power to conquer wickedness, the evil spirits, the Nephilim spirits. All right? And that's the same power that once we believe in Hamashiach, we are now endued with that power. We are now given that power so that they cannot come and possess us. They can't bring their lies and the deception. They now become afraid of us. All right? They tremble when they see us. All right. Matthew chapter 16, verse 19. And I will give unto you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. And that's Hamashiach speaking here to his disciples. He has given all of his people, not just his disciples then, but all of his people, all authority to bind up wickedness and to loose the devils from the lives of people. I'm speaking of Yashua, I'm not speaking of the Gentiles. He does not give his power to the Gentiles, not yet. He has not called them in yet, but he will still protect them as long as they believe in him. But they need to receive from us, Yashua. All right? They need to receive from us. They're not going to be given power to do anything except to believe. Because the command was already handed down from heaven. So we are given this power to heal and to destroy the works of darkness from Hamashiach himself. That power comes from him. It's called the anointing. And that power is given to us when we believe in him and we start walking in his laws and his commandments. His Ruach Kadash comes in and fills us with that power. That power is triggered in us. It's called the baptism of fire. All right? So Hamashiach gave his disciples a sample of that power when he called them, this is in Matthew chapter 10, to send them out. They were doing a practicum, basically. He was training them. This is what you're going to be doing when I leave the earth. But the power that will come upon you will be permanent. All right? So if we have power against unclean spirits, against these wicked, evil spirits, is there any reason for us to be afraid? No, absolutely not. We just need to continue on to finish this journey, this spiritual journey, the way and finish strong and not give up. Some people started the journey, and you know what they did? They threw away Hamashiach, the one way into the kingdom. They threw him away. And they think, I can finish this journey without him. And they believed in the lies that have been put out there against Hamashiach. And they think that they can finish this journey, this spiritual journey, without him. But they're wrong. So now we're going to get started with the programming and the brainwashing that we have been under. And to some degree, some people are still under it. And this one is called The Time interdimensional and space travel. And I know a lot of people love this idea of time traveling, moving into from one dimension to others. And if you notice that they have all the games and the television shows that promote this idea. And we do know that there is such a thing as portals, because we saw that in an earlier study when the Nephilim in Genesis, Bara'ashayath, chapter 6, when the flood came, some of them escaped. That's why they came back. And they're here now since after the flood. All right? First, they sold us a ball earth. That's the educational system. All right? Then space travel. And eventually, Hollywood, you know who that is, brings us time travel. And so we have been attacked from various angles. And that's why their manipulation worked. It worked until Alahayam awakened his people, awakened even some of the Gentiles. All right? He awakened those that will belong to him. And so we see it for what it really is. All right? There are some people that believe that there's such a thing as aliens and different worlds that we can visit that is better than this world. Now, from the Bible, from my understanding, there's only one earth and one place for people to live, and that is the earth that Alahayam Yahweh created. All else is a lie. But when you watch these programs, notice I said programs, these television shows, whether for the 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 ones that come through the television or the ones that come through the movie theaters, they will tell you otherwise. Okay? Now let's look at the first one. This one came out in the 70s. It's called Time Tunnel. And this programming introduced to our minds the idea of time traveling from the past to the future. Notice the black and white swirls, which is reminiscent of masonry. You know who I'm talking about. The time tunnel also looks like a gigantic dizzying eye. So if you look at it, it looks like a one eye, doesn't it? So these are two scientists that were trapped in time, and they were bouncing through time and space. So they were going, I don't think they were going in the future, but they were bouncing through time, because I watched this a long time ago when I was a child, right? And that's how old this is. This is very old idea. Even if you watch it now, the technology looks kind of weak, right? But during the 70s, it was a cool thing to contemplate that you can go through time and change events, right? So these two scientists, they created this machine, and somehow they got trapped in the same machine that they created, and they were bouncing through time, right? So who and only who can travel through these man-made portals? The Nephilim, of course. So this was a portal that they created, and they got trapped in their own portal. But again, if you understand the truth, and the truth is, Yahweh would send his son through a portal, Hamashiach, along with the angels to collect his people. All right? We are going to go back through those portals to go to third heaven. Now, those portals, or that portal that Alahayam is going to call us up through, is his portal. And that's the portal that these devils have been trying to open up or to find, but they just can't because he has sealed it. The portal that the Nephilim went through, he has sealed it. He allowed them to escape that one time to come back to the earth, and he sealed it. Otherwise, you would have seen some sort of machinery up there in Mount Hermon. But then again, you don't know what they have hidden underneath that mountain. We don't know. They hide things in mountains. But the man made portals, and we're going to see others, is Nephilim technology because they're seeking to open up portals so that they can go through. All right? All right, let's look at this other show, Quantum Leap. This is the 80s rendition of the time tunnel where a scientist trapped in time is bouncing through time to fix problems in history. So once again, they're trying to program us to think that this is something possible. All right, this is possible because television makes it seem real. And if you notice the 70s version and this version, there's a contrast in the sense that this seemed more real than this one. All right. So with each generation, each time that they come with a new show, they are perfecting the effects, the you know, there's the sceneries, everything. They're perfecting the cinematography. That's the word I'm looking for. They're perfecting it. All right. Now they have something called a green screen. I believe that's what it's called. I think it's called a green screen, where they can film the actual action or what have you, and then they can go into they can use the computer to put the special effects and everything to make it seem like this person was actually doing this event in or action in a particular place when in fact they were doing it in a studio. I've seen that. All right. So they have gotten very, very sophisticated now with the special effects and cinematography and what have you. So let's read on. He does this by leaping into different bodies, like body swapping, to become that person in order to fix their issue. And this is just like demonic possession, as this character, whose name is Sam, cannot be seen as himself, only as the person's body he leaps into. So if he leaps into a woman, you will see him looking like a man in drag, right? Man wearing feminine clothing. But the person will be seeing that who that person's supposed to be. But to us, he looks like a man in drag. And that was very disturbing when I saw that once. I just was not a big fan of this show. And by the way, a lot of these shows I've watched, okay, just to let you know. But I always had a question in my heart about it, and this was not really one of those shows that I would leap to watch. No pun intended. Sam then is presenting himself to be a Nephilim spirit that possesses bodies and cannot be seen. Because the people in that time that he's leapt into cannot see him. But he's in that person's body and he's affecting whatever history is what that was disrupted. Okay? So the partner here, this is this guy here, is a handler who instructs him on what to do. He too cannot be seen except by Sam, and he pops up at every venue where Sam leaped to or leapt to. All right, so he will be the one to tell him what the error was, who the person is, and what the problem is. And Sam then would try to fix the problem so that he can move again from that time in history to another time. So once that situation is resolved, then he leaps into another body. It's all demonic possession. That's what it is. A glorified demonic possession. All right? They just want you to be comfortable with the idea of people jumping into your body, creatures jumping into your body. All right. Now, this is glorifying demonic possession, where something other than Ruach HaKadash should possess a person. The difference between him and demonic spirits, Ruach HaKadash will lead us to holiness and righteousness, never to do any evil, while the evil spirits will lead anyone to do wickedness. Now, even though the scenario here in this story is showing you that he's trying to do good because he's fixing a problem, forget about the story. You have to see it for what it really is, what they are portraying to you, what they are subliminally programming you to believe. You understand? Forget about the story. You know, in the previous study that we looked at, we talked about the hidden hand. And the hidden hand is a trick. They don't want you to see what the hidden hand is actually doing. They want you to focus on the other hand. The other hand is doing good works. And that's the thing with Masonry. If you notice, and I noticed this when I was in Canada, I noticed that they had their own cars and everything, and they tried to make it seem like they are there to help people if they need to get around and stuff. Maybe their own people, I don't know. But they give you this idea that they're giving back to the community. They're in the community because they're there to help the community. So they had all these different services to help the community. That's the hand that you see. Now, the other hand that you don't see will be the evil deeds that they do. For example, human sacrificing, the eating and drinking of human blood and flesh. You don't know that. The curses and the demonic spirits that they worship, they don't show you that aspect of who they are. That part is hidden. So they want you to see what they want you to see. That is programming. But when you start to question what you see, and you start to see beyond what they don't want you to see, or in fact, beyond what they want you to see, and you see what they don't want you to see, now you have been awakened. All right? There's no such thing as a show for entertainment. No show that is on the television or you screen or what have you is there for entertainment. Especially when it's put out by Hollywood or Netflix. It's all to do with programming and brainwashing eventually. Yochanan chapter 14, verse 16. And I will pray Abba, and he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever. Even Harawak, Ol Amath, whom the world cannot receive, because it sees him not, neither knows him, but you know him. For he dwells with you and shall be in you. So there's only one spirit that needs to come into us, and that's Harawak. Nothing else, no one else. And if he is not in there, guess who will be taking up residence? If Alahayam removes his hand over a person, once he removes his grace from a person. Yes, we were all sinners, but we had the grace upon us to prevent demonic possession. But once that grace is withdrawn, then you are free to be possessed by these devils. All right. Now we're going to go on to aliens. This is another big one that has many people completely brainwashed into believing that there's such a thing as aliens. And because of the same programming, because of the programs now like Star Trek and what have you, you believe that people actually believe there's a space because we're on a ball earth spinning on an axis and spinning at the same time around the sun, hurtling through space. And that all the different twinkling stars that we see are planets that may be possibly inhabited. And then the CGI, computer generated images that NASA puts out there cause people to think that there's such a thing as not universe, universes. I'm gonna get that word out. Universes. That we are living in one universe, but the universe is ever expanding. Sorry, I made that. That's incorrect. We're living in a universe, and the universe is ever expanding because it has all these different galaxies, and within the galaxies are planets. So obviously, there has to be someone living or people living there. So if you are programmed to believe that we are sitting on a ball earth, then the next thing is you're going to believe that there's space. The next thing you're going to believe that there's such a thing as space travel. Nobody went to the moon. That's a hoax. No one went to the moon. No one can go to the moon. All of that is a big hoax. But people are brainwashed to believe it. And so they believe in aliens. And they show them a picture of a gray. They call it alien gray. And they actually believe it is a demon. That's Nephilim. Whoever they merged with. Whatever they merged with. And by the way, it is only an image that they show you. They've never shown you a real image of what these creatures look like. You have an artist there doing up sculptures and what have you, taking pictures, and then you believe that it's real. Yes, demons are real, and they can manifest themselves too. All right. But there's no such thing as aliens. Hollywood introduces us first to the idea of space travel, then the existence of other life forms on planets. This indoctrination is pushed by the educational system, the media, social media, and today even the governments. I remember back in the day when the governments, people say, well, I saw a UFO. And the government said, well, no, you're wearing a tinfoil hat. That's why you saw what you thought you saw. And now today the governments are talking about, yes, by the way, we lied. There is such a thing as aliens and spacecrafts and what have you. We have seen them too. We've captured a few of them. And they're coming back. No longer are they denying this phenomenon, quote unquote. It's not a phenomenon. The spacecrafts that people have been seeing since the 70s or maybe even before that is all Nephilim technology that was being flown around this earth, around the particular places that they were seen. Because the concentrated area, okay, the area where the sightings were concentrated. Where most people saw them is the place where they have the hangar. You know, a hangar is a place where they keep the spaceships, or what you call a spaceship. All right. And it's usually in a mountain somewhere or underground. So this is Nephilim technology. This is not an alien race, another race from another planet. Well, Nephilim is another race, yes. But they're trying to make you think that these creatures come from a different planet. There's no such thing. And this is a show that helped to push this idea. Right? And they try, notice their technique. They always bring comedy first to break the ice. All right? Once they bring comedy and they get you to laugh and fall in love with the character or characters, next comes acceptance. And after you accept it, now they can start to program you to think that this is possible. I need to keep an open mind until finally they can brainwash you to think, yes, this is possible, this can happen, and I believe it. So this show here called Mork and Mindy was a comedy sitcom from the 80s. Actually, I am so sorry. I missed a slide. I just realized it. Going back to time travel. I'm so sorry. We'll come back to Mork and Mindy. Because this is now the 90s. So remember, this was the 70s. This Quantum Leap was the 80s. Now we have Stargate SG1 being done in the 90s and into the up to 2000 and I don't know 7 or I don't know when they finished. All right. So this now is another portal because they're all portals. Quantum Leap was a portal. Time Tunnel was a portal. So now they're showing you this portal that looks a lot like CERN. That's right there in Switzerland. All right. So like time tunnel and quantum leap, this presents the same idea of moving through time and now space. We are introduced to a portal that can take this team to other worlds and civilizations, which is the only difference between this and the other two shows. So now with this show here, Stargate, they're going now to different planets, different worlds, different civilizations. And this is also helping people that believe in aliens and space travel and going into space in a rocket or a spaceship or what have you. This is all programming people to believe that this can be possible. Yet this idea is still the same, traveling from this dimension to another dimension through a portal. This is the method through which angels, the sun, moon, and stars enter into our dimension. Hamashiach, when he comes again, will also enter into our dimension through a portal. So we live beneath the dome, which is the earthly realm. Outside of the dome is what we call eternity. The time does not exist outside of the dome. And under the dome, there's time. All right? The watchers that married wives entered into our dimension through a portal on Mount Hermon, and it was this portal that the Nephilim escaped the flood on the earth. Now we are witnessing once again the Nephilim bloodline, showing us that they are working on portals, but using their technology. We will see this in the next study called Their Technologies. CERN is a portal created by their technology, by them. It is their technology. Talking about Nephilim. And there are many of them now. So there was just one, and now they have this CERN in many other countries now today. And don't let them lie to you to believe that they're trying to figure out what holds everything in this world together. They're looking for the God particle or antimatter or what have you. It's all a lie from the pit of hell. Do not believe anything that these people tell you. These are portals. All right? And they probably think that they can escape their judgments. The judgments that Alahayam is going to come against them. Or come place them in the lake of fire. They probably think that they can escape that through these portals. When Hamashiach comes, they probably figured they can escape through these portals. Just like they escaped with the flood. Do you remember that? Okay. So they have all these portals all over the place because they're planning on escaping this world through a portal. No, at the very same time, they have these portals to bring their fallen angels in or through. All right? Whatever angels that are restricted, they're hoping that these portals will allow these fallen angels that are restricted by Alahayam to come through into this dimension. All right? We know that there are angels, the 200 watchers are bound. And they're hoping that they can go in to wherever they are through these portals to release them. Because they are vile and they're incredibly wicked. All right? So these portals have a twofold purpose. To bring about, to release the angels that are bound, because they're looking for them. All right? And also a way for them to escape when the judgments against them begin. All right? But there's no place that they can run and hide from Alahayam Yahweh, because what he will do is just shut it down. Shut it down. All right? He's more than able to do that. No one can escape the judgments, not even the angels, not even the fallen angels can't escape his judgments. Can't escape him. So let's go back now to this comedy called Mork and Mindy. All right. So this came in the 80s. So Hollywood always introduces its indoctrination through comedy. This is their strategy to get us to laugh at the character, which would render it, meaning the character, harmless to us, even if the principles being introduced are against our beliefs. This is how they introduce their evil doctrines. Remember how same gender was introduced? Through comedy, until they brought the one drama, that won awards and all that stuff. I think it was called Brokeback something. That one. About two cowboys. Unbelievable. Because now the world laughs so much, the people in the world laugh so much at their quirkiness, that now it's time to bring them as a serious business. All right, and people were only too happy to embrace it, because by that time people were brainwashed and programmed to accept same gender relations. There are many abominations being introduced to us. First of all, you have the aliens, which we know isn't even real, but it is an entity, a demonic entity, but it makes you think that, okay, it looks human, it looks normal, so why not accept it? When the fallen angels came, when the washers came to marry the daughters of men, to make them their wives, you think they came looking like angels? They came looking like men, normal looking men. It's only when they cohabitated together that the giants came forth, and they were hideous. So, first one, aliens are entities cohabitating with mankind. No different from the watchers that cohabitated with the daughters of men, which we know is an abomination. So, what they're introducing subtly as comedy, they're all abominations. Demonic possession that we see in the previous few slides, especially in Quantum Leap, that was demonic possession. All right, and now we're seeing here the daughter of men with an entity that is not human. It looks human, but it is not human. You see the subtle message that they're giving us to let you think, oh, well, that's kind of cute. You know, he's so quirky. He's so funny. I like him. And of course, eventually they got married and they had a son called Mirth. Sounds like mirth, like, when something, mirth is like joy or laughter, something along that, funny, whatever. When you think of mirth, you think of something that's funny. But mirth would be a hybrid. And that was birthed by Mork, who laid an egg. So this creature here was the one who gave birth to their son, which is this old looking man. All right. So obviously, when he gave birth to the egg, when he laid the egg, it was a small egg, but it grew and grew until it got to be the size of a human. Well, the size of a human. But this creature here then would be a hybrid Nephilim. And notice the size of it, because it's portraying a child. It's not a man. It came out of the shell this size, but this is the size of it as a child. So imagine if it had to grow now and continue to grow, then it would be obviously a giant. So you see the subtle messaging here? And this is what happened with the daughters of men. All right? When they gave birth to a child, the child grew and grew and grew until they were 4,500 feet tall when they were finished growing. It's abomination. And so, but they make it funny and acceptable. And we accepted it because it was funny. It was entertainment. This is how they catch us, through entertainment. In actual fact, a giant as compared to a child, it was portrayed as. So even when it was hatched, it would be a baby, right? You know how tiny a little baby is. But look at the size of it after it's hatched. Just like the Nephilim. Notice the egg in the logo. So you see the egg here in the logo? That should tell you a lot. And this here is also programming to make you think that a child can be birthed first by a male and also in an egg. Yes, the woman, we have something called ova, which is egg, and the men have their bit, and the two together combine, and that's where life begins. But the woman carries the child, and she birthed the child as a baby, a tiny little baby. So you see how they're trying to draw us away from that traditional, normal way of procreating that Alahayam created. Another indoctrination is the idea of the male producing the young, and in this case, in the form of an egg. And we see it today. Those that have changed their genders, all of a sudden now they keep their lower parts. They want to have a baby, but they look like a man. I kid you not. It is the grossest looking thing I've ever seen. All right? And then they will convince the world, those that have been brainwashed, to believe that, oh, yes, well, it is a man, so therefore, and it is pregnant, so therefore men can get pregnant. When a real man does not have the hardware internally to carry a child. It's a lie from the pit of hell. And it came through programming over and over and over. Like I said, they start with our grandparents, then our parents, and then us. Until they get to the next generation who is fully sold out and fully programmed and brainwashed. Notice in many of these horrific alien shows, they're always using mankind to create their hybrid species. You're going to see that in the upcoming slides. They also want us to believe that babies can come from an egg fully developed like a chicken, hence the introduction to baby pods, which are shaped like an egg. But this is all about Nephilim as their offspring were and are hatched. All right, so I'm going to show you the baby pods later. It's shaped like an egg. But Nephilim, the first generation Nephilim were born. But they could not, because of their size, they could not procreate. So they had to find another way to create their offspring. And they did it with animals and what have you. They did their slicing and dicing and mixing and matching and planted the embryos in whatever animal, and then eggs were hatched. And that's how they got their offspring. That's how they got their children. I kid you not. I kid you not. And that's why we see it being reflected in these movies. Because they're telling us, but because we're so programmed to thinking that this is just entertainment with a horror aspect to it, but deep down in our psyche, deep down in our subconscious, they're programming us to believe that this is possible. And now today, we're seeing it happening, where the programming now has taken full effect. All right. Now we come to this one here, the Borgs. And you heard me talking about this one in the last study. The Star Trek produced, sorry, let me start over. Star Trek introduced us to man and machine as one. If you can remember the $6 million man and $6 million woman, imagine 6 million. The number 6 and 6 O's, 6 zeros. Right? That is curious. They had the same idea, but were much more human-like. So $6 million man and $6 million woman, they presented themselves to look fully human, except they had bionic arm, legs, an eye, and an ear. All right? That's them changed internally. But here we see with the Borg, the change is external. All right? And we know the Borg, as I told you, they lived in this is their spaceship. It's called the cube. And we know what the cube represents. It represents Saturn. And we know who Saturn is, all right? A pagan deity. And these ones, once they are assimilated like this, they all have one mind, one thought, one voice. And it's all echoing throughout every chamber in this flying cube. So the message behind this is exactly what has happened because of the programming and the brainwashing to cause people to have one mind, one thought. It's called the beehive mentality. You cannot think other than what is told to you. And you cannot think unless, well, you can only think what others are thinking. And what others are thinking, you want to think that way too. Because you're programmed to go along with the masses. You're programmed to join with the greater number of people and the way how they think. So if all those people are programmed and brainwashed to think this way, then you jump in because you think the majority is thinking the right way. When in fact it is the opposite. And therefore, because now you have this beehive mentality, when the truth comes your way, you reject it and you see it as a lie. And the funniest thing about it is that people that are brainwashed, when you try to show them proof, physical proof, actual proof, they will still reject it as a lie. That is when a person is completely brainwashed. Now we're going to move on to witchcraft. Hollywood glorifies witches and warlocks. Can you imagine? Back in the day, when we used to read a storybook, the witch was always this woman in black flying on a broom that looked like an old hag with a wart at the edge of her nose. An ugly creature that you're supposed to be scared of. Even as you grow up and you hear that a person is a witch, you stay away from them. I remember one time I went to visit some friends. Well, they're acquaintances, I would say. And they had a birthday party for their son. And I'm not joking. They said to me, because they knew at the time, that was back in the day when I was a Christian, okay? So I always made my belief, I let it be known, because I have nothing to be ashamed of. If they can come and glorify their gods, why can't I glorify him? All right, you understand? Why can't I stand up and proclaim the Most High? Anyways, so I visited them and they said to me, we had a birthday party for our son. And I said, wow, that's awesome. They said, and we would have invited you too, but we decided not to because we had a real witch come and perform magic. And we know how you feel about them or about that. And I thought to myself, and they had a second child that was younger, of course. Well, not really, of course, but they had a younger child, a few years younger. And they invited other friends to come. And I thought to myself, and that was back in the early 2000s, right? Early 2000s, I think. Yeah. About 2009, I believe, around that time. or actually it was, I think it was after 2009. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But it was in 2000s. And it was curious to think that before witches and warlocks, they used to hide and do their deeds, right? They'll go dark places late at night where they can perform their witchcraft without anyone else knowing. And here now, you see witchcraft being glorified so much by Hollywood that they're now proud to come out and proclaim themselves as witches. And what the mom said to me, it is a real witch. Oh my goodness. It is a real witch that came. And it showed them how to do magic. And they were so happy. The children were overjoyed. And I thought, my goodness, you have no idea what you have just done. You have no idea. And you know, the same son, they have, I don't know if they still do, but they had some big issues with him. Big, big, big issues. And you wonder why, huh? You expose your children to witchcraft and you think it's harmless, there's nothing wrong with it because of these shows. This one called Bewitched. This came out in the 70s, maybe even the late 60s. I can't even remember. So, comedy being used to desensitize and program us to love these abominable creatures. So, she's the witch. This is, I believe, this is her mother, or yeah, this is her mother, who is also a witch. So, she came from a long line of witch. He is not a witch, he is a normal person. So, right here, we're seeing they're bringing witchcraft into the home using a traditional looking middle class family unit, except the mother, who is also the wife, who is also a mother, is a witch. So this is their daughter named Tabitha. All right. So gone are the days when witches were old hags on a broomstick with a wart on their oversized noses. So if you look at this character here on a broomstick, it looks very sensuous, doesn't it? So it makes you think, witches? You can't be afraid of witches. We need to love them because they're beautiful people and funny. And this one used to do its witchcraft for good, not evil. Now we have a very feminine, pretty looking witch who only uses her powers to do good. Check out the witch on the broomstick, which we just did. This was how they got to our grandparents and our parents, and eventually through to us through them. Signed, sealed, and indoctrinated. So they were programming our grandparents to think that witchcraft is okay. So notice that in each scene here, you have the moon. This is actually devil horns. All right? That's the devil horns. Unbelievable. And so the indoctrination is passed on to the next generation, both on screen and on the masses. So now this is Tabitha grown up, had her own show, comedy again, and witchcraft. Because it came out that she also, even though her father didn't have powers, all right, but she became like her mother, being able to do magic or whatever you want to call it, witchcraft. Let's call it witchcraft. All right. And then she came then to indoctrinate the next generation into this garbage. All right. Tabitha was the daughter of Samantha of the show Bewitched. No, the daughter is being used to program the next generation with this abomination called witchcraft. All forms of witchcraft is abomination. It is. There's no white witch. There's no good witch. They're all abomination. All right? And when you start sympathizing and opening to the possibility that a witch could be good, that means you're programmed. Heading straight for brainwashing. Once again, humor is used to make us fall in love with the characters and at the same time lower our spiritual guard to fall in love with their craft. Oh, they're so cute, they're so sweet, they're so kind, they're so loving. They're doing only good things with their powers, so therefore they cannot be evil. And then you start to accept it. It's programming. Now, the next step is always to bring out more serious shows like dramas with the same abomination to get us to view it as something to seriously contemplate as a possibility and to be desired. Never seen this show before, never even heard of it, but this one is also called Tabitha, Witch of the Order. All right, I don't think it's about her, but then again, you never know. And this could have been, this looks like it's more recent. All right, this looks like it's more recent. Then, when Doctor Strange came out, the masses were all hooked and not at all appalled. The comedies and Marvel, we talk about Marvel Comics, saw to this. So the comedies and Marvel are ways in which they use to indoctrinate us, to program us. All right? The picture on the left, this is Tabitha. This is her as a baby in Bewitched. All right? And see, she's wearing a cloak like a witch. But they try to make it, oh, she's so cute. You know, she's a little girl and she's so, what she's doing with her hands, she's casting spells, she's doing this, she's doing magic, she's causing things to levitate. Oh, that's so sweet. I wish my baby can do that. Can you imagine? So the picture on the left is Tabitha when she was a baby doing magic in the show called Bewitched, dressed like a witch herself. Now, the word bewitched means to influence, attract by witchcraft, to cast a spell over someone, just like this show. So, what this show did is influence our thinking into thinking that this show is harmless, right? It is just entertainment, right? And at the same time, it's casting spells over us. It's called programming and brainwashing. Those are spells. They got us to think what they wanted us to think and to behave how they wanted us to behave. Because then you will have people that would dress their children like this to be a witch for Halloween. Well, we already know that Halloween is a pagan holiday, it's an evil holiday, but yet they go one step further and now they're going to dress their children like the characters and they themselves the parents. Look at this one here. This one was a big hit. Harry Potter. Written by a witch for the masses that have been so programmed and indoctrinated by this time that they welcomed this abomination as entertainment. There is no such thing as a good witch or a white witch or a wizard, as portrayed in the many beloved shows like The Hobbit and X-Men and other shows. We have been bombarded by many TV shows and movies year after year until now, when the masses are ripe for the final push to turn themselves and their children to be like their favorite characters for Halloween. In case you should forget these shows, they make their merchandise for you to keep in your home or to wear. So you know what they do? They make merchandise. They make t-shirts, they make hats, baseball caps, they make children's lunch boxes, backpacks, what have you, for adults and children. So that you will always be reminded of the deception, and the spell that you're under. Every time you see it, it does something. And you don't even have to wear it. You're walking down the street and you see someone wearing the shirt, all of a sudden, with this Harry Potter or what have you, whatever witchcraft that or whatever demonic device that they have put out there, whether it's Star Trek or space travel, whatever it is, because you embrace it, every time you see it, it does something in you because you're under a spell, and you can't help know that but to be brainwashed. All right, you can't help it. Every time you look at it, and this one was loved by both adults and children completely. And the person who wrote this book was a witch, is a witch. All right? But they portray these children going to a school for witches. Have you ever heard of anything in your life where they're trained in witchcraft? Children. Children. Unbelievable. Now we're going to Marvel's Doctor Strange. And Marvel Comics was a method reading entertainment. It was the way in which to reach people before there was televisions everywhere. So it was another form of entertainment, reading entertainment. Because I remember my uncles when they were younger, all read comics. All their friends, they all had comics. They used to swap with each other. Couldn't wait for the latest Marvel comic to come out. So what Marvel has done is to introduce to the masses superheroes when television was not quite available for everyone. And by the way, these superheroes are nothing else than the fallen angels and Nephilim. All right? The message relayed to us is that ordinary people can acquire powerful mystical powers if they open themselves to such ideas and the power. So this guy here was a normal man. This is in the show. He was a surgeon. He got into an accident. He hurt himself. You're going to see this story being repeated, by the way. He hurt himself, so he wanted healing because he wanted to go back to being a surgeon again. But instead, he found these powers. All right. But these powers are none other than Nephilim spirits, fallen angels, and Satans that will possess a person's body, allowing them to do that word's supposed to be fantastically demonic things. I guess it got deleted by accident. Now, this character here, Doctor Strange, was damaged physically and was seeking a way to be healed. And so he sought out ancient mystical powers to do so. Of course, it was healed and at the same time became the sorcerer supreme. That's what he became, from a man to a wizard with mystical powers. Sounds like a masonry title, doesn't it? Sorcerer Supreme. But we know from a previous study that this actor is also a Freemason. Therefore, no surprise at this title in the movie. This one here came through that show called, I think it became famous when it did Sherlock Holmes and got people to really fall in love with with him. But this is a Freemason. This one wicked. They're all wicked. Like you see all the different hand gestures there, the diamond, then the eye on the chest, the one eye. This here is like a portal that is coming through, right? With all these different hands, right? Reminding us of Shiva. You know, it's a statue that was gifted to the CERN in Switzerland. Looks just like this with all the different hands, like all the different three, all putting up all the threes, because this one is a 33rd and maybe a 33rd and a third Freemason. There's a wicked one here. This is a witch in truth. He's portraying himself. Except he doesn't dance around in light, he dances around in darkness. Dances around in darkness. Marvel was created to introduce the fallen angels and Nephilim, possessed people as superheroes to make us despise how weak we are as compared to them. It makes us crave these demonic powers, right? So when we see ordinary people becoming super intelligent, super strong, being able to do marvelous things that an ordinary person cannot, then it makes us crave that those powers, right? And so when the time comes when the Nephilim technology is introduced, where we can enhance ourselves, making us super strong, super intelligent, connected to other devices without the wiring or whatever enhancements they will sell to the public, people will only be too happy to jump at the chance. They're trying to make us feel unhappy in the bodies that we're in, the bodies that we have. They want us to think that these bodies are so limited and useless, we can just trade it in for something better, or better yet, put something in it to make it better. And that something is Nephilim, either Nephilim technology or Nephilim genome, or possession, demonic possession. Do you see how people are already enhancing their bodies to look different? Now, you will be able to enhance your body to possess powers and at the same time be possessed by demonic spirits. From the minute you decided or you decide to go and enhance, to change who you are, you're going to be demonically possessed. This is what they are selling us today. Hence, we have technologies to alter our genome through nanotechnologies, brain chips, and whatever else they can use to make us abominable like them. And this is what they do to sell us that nonsense right here. We watch it, we fall in love with it, and we wondered, why can't I be strong like this person? Why can't I have magical powers? And then you start to crave. And then when the time comes and they give you a way in order to acquire these powers, you're going to jump at it. And all it is darkness. Now looking at the actor's pose, let's look at the actor's pose and position. In the first picture, the hand gesture is that of the Baphomet. So if you remember, I did a study on the Baphomet. This is the hand signal of the Baphomet. Then it is showing the one eye symbol, because technically if you put your hand in front of your eye, you're not going to see the eye. But they're trying to say, well, he can see through even his own hand. He has such great power, but at the same time, he's hiding that eye. And that eye, and then we have the halo behind his head right here, which is all representative which all represents the sun god, Ra, Horus, Tammuz, whatever you want to call it. So this is sending a great big shout out to its gods. Tammuz, Ra, Horus, Baphomet, this devil here. In the next picture, the actor is stepping out of a portal. So this is a portal that you can be teleported wherever. And by the way, demonic spirits can teleport people. Oh, yes, they can. Oh, yes, they can. But they don't teleport you in light, they teleport you through darkness. All right. Allowing us to know that with witchcraft, you'll be able to be transported through time and to different dimensions. This is possible. It's called, there's a name for it. Um, when they can, there's this woman who wrote a book about it um, a long time ago. I could never read this book. I read the first page and it was enough for me because she was talking about witchcraft. And she was a doctor and she was almost killed by witchcraft, but she was able to overcome it. And so the book that she was writing, that she had written, was telling people how real witchcraft is. And she was giving you examples of the way how witchcraft is used. And one of the ways is when um, they can take a person who is possessed and teleport them and transport them to different locations. Oh yes. So I kind of put that book aside for many years, and then finally I just threw it out. I just can't. No, there's just some things that I'm not that curious to find out more about witchcraft. All right. It is also wearing the one eye on its chest, the source of its powers. Do not be deceived. So this here is an eye, and this is the source of its powers. All right. Unbelievable. And now we're going to look at this creature here that I just can't. I'm going to go through this rather quickly because this one here is very dark and demonic. This one here is possessed with many, many evil spirits. I kid you not. David, Blaine, the magician extraordinaire. Now, this creature is really not a magician, although the idea of magic is still a form of witchcraft. Although they're using trickery and sleight of hands. That's not old fashioned magicians, they use trickery and sleight of hands. It is the entertainment witchcraft used to dazzle the minds of people. So people see magician with a top hat and whatnot, and they think, entertainment, right? Entertainment, dazzle my mind. Yet this one is more than a magician, but rather a warlock. This one here is this is a creature from darkness. This is pure darkness. You just got to look at its eyes. Pure darkness. Pure, pure darkness. He is able to pull off those dangerous, impossible feats through witchcraft, where he is possessed by many evil spirits. He is, after all, Nephilim. There is evil darkness in those eyes. So when like this one came out and it started out doing the normal type of magic, and then today, look, even when I was a sinner, I'm telling you, there's just some things I stay away from. Let me move on to, I can't stand to see that person's face. Anyways, when I was a sinner, there's just certain things that I just could not tolerate. And I saw one or two of his witchcraft things that he did, and I thought, okay, there's something off about it. And even as a sinner, I never wanted to watch him. Never. Even when he would come out with these, they would proclaim their debut as, to do this great feat. And you have the television stations and everything all, waiting for this magic that this creature is going to do. I wasn't one of them because I always felt there was something off about him. And now, as a believer, a true believer in Alahayam Yahweh, I can tell you without a shadow of doubt, he is a warlock and he is possessed with some very powerful demonic spirits. All right? Powerful. All right, let's move on to sleeves. And we're not talking about on a garment. This is a term used for disposable bodies. All right? So Hollywood is introducing us to the idea of our bodies being disposable, to be replaced by a better copy or copies if so desired. And so they brought out this show called Altered Carbon. So the Nephilim in Hollywood are telling us that we don't ever have to die, but we can upload our consciousness into a machine or a sleeve. What is a sleeve? A sleeve is a term used for bodies that can serve as a receptacle for a cortical stack, whether they be naturally born, speaking of the sleeves, genetically or cybernetically modified or artificially created to augment their users' physical or mental abilities as well as grant new abilities altogether. So basically they're saying a sleeve is a body that was brought about not by the normal means. Because if a normal man and a normal woman, husband and wife, have a child, that child is now, okay, let me start fresh. If a man who has the bloodline that Alahayam created him with, and a woman who has the bloodline that Alahayam created her with, they have a child, that child will be a normal child. And the grace of Alahayam will be upon that child. All right? Now, if you have a man or a woman or both who have been corrupted, their bloodline have been corrupted, and they have a child, that child will not have the grace of Alahayam upon it. It will be a sleeve. You see what I'm saying? Now, the babies that they create in the labs are sleeves. The ones that they cybernetically, meaning that you have enhanced with nanotechnology, you become a sleeve. That's why the people that took the toxin, they are still living, they're sleeves. Because the grace of Alahayam has been removed from them, and now they will be possessed by demonic spirits. And they can't stop that. You can't repent. Who are you going to repent to? Alahayam Yahweh is not going to hear you. You disobeyed him and you allowed yourself to be changed on a genetic level. And that's why it says here genetically. Anyone that allows themselves to be changed genetically becomes a slave. The next question is, what is a cortical stack? Now, cortical stacks serve as a receptacle for the human consciousness or digital human freight. So they take your mind and they make it into a digital digital device. They program a device, and whatever is in your mind goes into that device. Your consciousness, meaning the essence of who you are, your thinking, your ideas, your memories, everything. They are implanted at the base of the brain when the protectorate citizens are 1 year old. Now, this is according to the movie, all right? Not movie, this television show. This is according to this show. But I'm just showing you that they use these shows to program us with their ideas. All right. Inside is pure human mind, coded and stored as DHF, which is the digital human freight. Your consciousness can be downloaded into any stack in any sleeve. A sleeve is replaceable, but a stack is not. Once it is destroyed, it is gone for good. So basically, they're saying that you can move your consciousness from one body to another. Doesn't that sound like demonic possession? How can you get your consciousness be downloaded on as a digital human freight to put in a device called a cortical stack and then to be downloaded onto another body? I just saw this. I'll see if I can include it in under technologies, their technologies. But I saw this company now that's talking about transplanting heads. You know, for a while they're talking about rich people that can, when they're dying because they have some sort of incurable disease or what have you, they decide to freeze their heads and keep them in these containers frozen until a time in the future where they're able to find cures for the same diseases or what have you. Then they can be transplanted onto bodies and be healed. Well, the bodies are sleeves. Okay? The bodies will be sleeves. And this is something that has been going on for some years now. All right. So, what is a protectorate citizen? Would you believe that even all these definitions are according to Altered Carbon's explanations that the protectorate in this show is the UN, the United Nations? Therefore, this programming is showing us the one world government's agenda. It will cause willing participants, whoever is a part of their quote unquote global community, to be able to upload or download their consciousness. I first saw this idea being introduced in a comedy sitcom called The Big Bang Theory, although this idea could have been introduced earlier as well. I saw that. And again, they're using comedy to introduce this idea of downloading or uploading your consciousness. The Nephilim wants us to despise ourselves, to seek after better bodies and minds, which would help us to do extraordinary things. They are creating options through the use of their technologies, but the bottom line is, it is all demonic possession or altering our genome, which boils down to be the same thing, an abomination. So usually they will show you a person who has an issue with their health, just or an injury, just like we saw in Doctor Strange, that he went and he sought powers in order to be healed. And in exchange, he also acquired higher powers. Unbelievable. So here, these are sleeves. These are bodies that were created in the lab. This is according to the show, though. But we know today there are a lot of sleeves. They've been doing this. You see, the fact that they're showing us this, it means that they have already done this and perfected it. The idea of sleeves is to make us feel that our bodies are disposable and therefore nothing special. They don't want us to believe that our bodies are the temple of Alahayam, Yahweh, and therefore our temple must be holy and righteous and sacred, and it must remain pure. All right? Nothing should come in to corrupt us on any level. It's bad enough that we have to deal with a sin nature, but then we introduce something that we don't have to introduce to it. All because we are programmed or brainwashed to believe the lies. When in fact, all that these Nephilim and fallen angels are interested in is demonic possession and the control of our souls. Remember that our souls were created by Alahayam when he formed the physical part of our being from the ground. Now, when I said our, we should say Adam and Hawa, because they were created, we were procreated. All right? So just let me clarify that. So Adam and Hawa were formed from the dust of the ground, and Alahayam breathed into that creation, and it became a living soul. Now, the soul is not our flesh. And I know some people out there are teaching that your soul has to do with your emotions and this and that. No, that's not the soul. The soul was the physical body that Alahayam created to house the spirit within us. And the two together were made in the image of Alahayam. Now, the reason why he did that is because the Garden of Odan was on the earth and it was a physical place, right? And Alahayam wanted man to live on the earth. At the same time, he wanted to have a relationship with the man he created, a man and a woman that he created. So he made them both physical beings and spiritual beings. So the physical being was the soul, the outer layer, and the inner person, the inner part was the spirit. So Alahayam created them that way so that they were both physical and spiritual, just like the Garden of Odan was both physical and spiritual because it was the resting place of Alahayam Yahweh. He came down and he spoke to them there. So they were able to commune with him because they were both spirit and physical. Physical in the sense that Alahayam used Adam and Hawa to tend and keep the garden. The garden was physical, but it was also spiritual because it was his home. It was his sanctuary, the sanctuary of Alahayam Yahweh. So do you understand? Now, when Adam and Hawa sinned, the glory was shut off. And because the glory was shut off, then the body, the which we call the soul, became vulnerable. And Alahayam knew that it would not be able to cope outside of the garden. It was created for inside the garden. Because inside the garden was both physical and spiritual, just like Adam and Hawa were before their sin. After their sin, their light was shut off. And that glory that once exuded from them and wrapped them in a garment was now gone. So now they were bare. And he had to take them out of the garden. But now they were not able or capable to exist outside of the garden because that soul was not capable of maintaining them. So Alahayam wrapped them in flesh. He put flesh upon them, right? He put flesh upon them because the spirit now has gone to sleep. It's almost comatose. And it was just the soul now. And so the flesh now is responsible for letting us know when we feel too hot, when we feel too cold, so we know what to do. If you're feeling too hot, you got to go somewhere to keep cool. Otherwise, the heat will kill you. If you go someplace and it's too cold, you need to wrap yourself in clothing to keep your bodies warm. Otherwise, you'll be frozen to death. The body now, this flesh body now, tells us when we're hungry, because now you need to feed, you need to eat. If you're thirsty, you need to drink. If you're tired, you need to rest. But when it was just the soul and spirit in the Garden of Odan, Adam and Hawa never felt hunger, never felt thirst, never felt tired, never felt sleepy, never felt any of the above that we feel today. because they were perfect. They were made in the image of Alahayam Yahweh. Okay? So that's the difference between soul, spirit, and flesh. All right? And this is what the devils are after. They are after our souls. Because within the souls are our spirit. They have control over the flesh. That's why we have battles within us. The battles are usually our will against the will of Alahayam Yahweh. Our will to do evil and his will to do good. And that's why when we feed this flesh and we succumb to the tactics of the enemy, it makes it strong. So then we are led away from the light and into the darkness. But when we starve this flesh and we cause the soul within us, the spirit man also within us, to be strengthened by the word of Alahayam, and we have the work of Warwak HaKadash working in us to, to help to remove even more of the darkness that have been hidden there for generations. Yes, because it is passed down from generation to generation. Generational curses that need to be broken. So we don't repeat the same mistakes our parents made, our grandparents made, our forefathers made. We see our brethren today making the same mistakes what our forefathers have made because it's a generational curse being passed down through the generations. And the only way they can be broken is when we purpose in our hearts to walk in the light. And we deny the flesh its desires. And we feast on the word of Alahayam. That's what they're after. These devils. All right. Then he breathed in it. So when he formed the physical form of Adam and Hawa, he breathed in it and it became a living soul. It is not our flesh that came later, but our soul became the housing for our spirits, and the two together were created in the image of Alahayam. So let's look at Bara'ashayath chapter 2 verse 7. That's the book of Genesis chapter 2 verse 7. And Yahweh Alahayam formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And Yahweh Alahayam planted a garden eastward in Odan, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And Yahweh, jumping down to verse 15, and Yahweh Alahayam took the man and put him into the garden of Odan to dress it and to keep it. So they want us to deny the creation of Alahayam. They want us to reject it, to dispose of it. And using trickery, telling us that we can download or upload our consciousness. That's a lie from the pit of hell. No such thing. And all that's going to happen, you become asleep and be possessed by an evil spirit or evil spirits. That's all it is. That's what these creatures want. When Alahayam placed Adam in the garden to keep it, he had a physical form. It was a perfect form that exuded the glory of Alahayam from within. But when the glory was shut off, the soul became naked and to be dressed in flesh for the purpose of preservation. The soul and spirit together were perfect, not needing to be dressed as the glory became a garment, not feeling hot or cold as they, Adam and Hawa, were dwelling in the presence of Alahayam in his garden, not feeling hunger or thirst. It was a perfect body until sin made it imperfect. Sin made us imperfect. We were all born under the curse of Adam and Hawa. But praises to the Most High that He had created a way back for us through His Son, Hamashiach, who died for our sins. So now we can be redeemed back to Him. Now, this abomination on the left is now being fed to us because many women are and will become sterile. Men as well, too. Men as well. Due to the toxin and many other toxic materials introduced into their bodies willingly. Also, many women are veering away from the traditional relationships or from the way Alahayam intended for us to procreate. Women today do not want to be pregnant because of indoctrination and brainwashing. Right? They don't want. Gone are the days when women looked forward to get married and to have children. No, women today, they don't want that because they're sold a different idea or ideas. They're programmed to believe they can live another way according to their idols on the television sets or what have you. Right? And the other idea of having a baby is more appealing. All right? I know women back in the day, they knew that, yes, there's some pain and discomfort and what have you involved. But at the end of it, they look forward to holding their baby. But now, if they give these millennials another option, right, to be able to have this child without having to go through the pain and the discomforts, well, they're going to jump at it because they're programmed and many of them are brainwashed. All right. And then we have this company called Ectolife has introduced to the world their solution to this problem of infertility or men posing as women and therefore unable to be pregnant. But these babies made in these pods are sleeves, which will be possessed by Nephilim spirits. Now remember, I told you that when we looked at Mark and Mindy, the alien that laid an egg is because they're creating this idea of babies being grown in an egg. So this is the pod that's shaped like an egg to help, is here again, is here to drive home the fact that babies can come from an egg. And we're not talking about the ova that comes from the woman. We're talking about this shaped thing here, like an eggshell. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? You're going to hear me repeating that phrase over and over again because it's unbelievable the things that they have been programming. They programmed us in the past, and now we are seeing the programming in the present time and what will be happening in the future. Unbelievable. Imagine this. If this is being introduced to us today, what do they really have hidden that is far better than this? So they now introducing these pods, right? And talking about sleeves and what have you. That's because they already have their sleeves operating on this earth. Yes, they do. And sometimes they break down. They got to haul them back in and send another one out. And although they're not doing the cortical stack thing, these sleeves are possessed by evil spirits. Their bodies being possessed by evil spirits, but they have the appearance of that famous person that you love. And when they start to freak out and start doing crazy things, they bring them back in and they release a new one. They're sleeves being possessed. And they're doing this because these same people, whether they're actors or singers or some form of entertainer, whatever entertainer they are, our entertainment industry that they're in. They're there to program us and to indoctrinate us into this wickedness. And so, if they find a favorite person that they can use for a short period of time, they have many slaves that look like this person. Oh, yes, you think that this is not real? You think that this isn't happening? Then you are brainwashed if you don't think that this isn't happening. People on television, you see them breaking down. All of a sudden, they're glitchy because it's a sleeve. All right? It's a sleeve. These things are real. And when you look at the picture of the person before and after, like years ago, and then you look at a picture of them today, you see marked differences in that person. All right? Even in their attitudes. So the person that you saw in the past was the original copy, and then the person that you're seeing today is a sleeve. And they're freaky looking too. All right, let's move on. And this here is the baby pod again with all the different baby pods filled with sleeves that will be possessed by Nephilim spirits. Now, this is what we would call ancient Nephilim technology because it's at least 50 years old. So if they're showing you any technology that you have today is 50 years old because they have something that is newer that they're currently using. And this idea of baby pods has been used already. That's why I keep calling them baby farms. You probably think that I'm joking. But this here is a baby farm. And this is an idea that it's not an idea. This is an actual thing that has been happening for years now. That's why you see these men with men, or you see the ones that supposed to be women, but they are really men. Suddenly they have a baby bump and then they have a child. Where do you think they get that child from? Here, the baby farm. Look at the shape of the pod. It is shaped like an egg, reminiscent of the egg the male alien in movies laid to hatch their hybrid young. At the end of the day, these Nephilim and the fallen angels despise and disrespect the bodies that Alahayam created because the righteous will be replacing them. They fell from heaven, and Alahayam is going to replace every single one of them with us. That's why they hate us. Excuse me. That's why they hate us. And I wanted to say something else about these sleeves as I remembered. So these babies here, yes, because the definition of a sleeve, all right, as we go back and we looked at it, the definition that they gave for a sleeve is naturally born, genetically or cybernetically modified, or artificially created. So this here will be artificially created. And we went through those examples already. That naturally born, I give you that example, and genetically, when the genetics are changed, or cybernetically, where something else is introduced to it, technology in the form of a nanotechnology, and then here, artificially created. All right, let's move on now to the next, Avatar. I know when this movie came out, that people were like, whoa, this is so cool. Hollywood's programming to cause us to despise our bodies and to crave for a better copy, like a sleeve or an avatar. So that's what an avatar is put out there for. They have coined the word avatar now as it means an image that can represent who you are on the World Wide Web, or so you think. So they even want us to become comfortable with this word called avatar. All right, let's look at it. Through the eyes of Alahayam Yahweh. So this here is the movie called Avatar. There are so many abominations going on with this movie that it is mind-boggling. First off, what indoctrination are they trying to pass along to us subliminally? The transfer of one's consciousness to an avatar. So apparently, this creature, this man here, was crippled. But when he's in this world, when he has transferred his consciousness to his avatar, which is this creature over here, because he's half human here and half creature, then he becomes this creature here with a tail that looks like a reptile or a hybrid between a reptile and a person. So this is exactly here the imagery that is given to you, that this person now becomes a hybrid. All right. Now, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, an avatar is an incarnation of a Hindu deity, an incarnation in human form, an embodiment of a concept, philosophy, or person. So you see what an avatar is. Therefore, this movie is speaking of demonic possession, but look at what the pagan religion it's attached to, Hinduism. Now, the statue in front of the CERN laboratory in Switzerland is a Hindu god called Shiva, dancing in the midst of a portal. I did a study on that. Do you see how they are all connected with each other? So he uploaded his consciousness to this avatar to go into this creature's world here for whatever reasons. All right, and then decided to stay, marry it, and stay. Because it no longer wanted to be a man anymore. It wanted to be an avatar. Because as a man, it was crippled, but as an avatar, it is highly athletic. It can use its legs and what have you. And then it has a tail. That's the part that had me so gross. And they have like these long necks. Let's read on. I'm going ahead of myself. These creatures are blue in color and reptilian looking with tails. Therefore, these beings are hybrids. Looking at what the Anakim would look like. This is what the Anakim would look like with long bodies, long necks, right? Looking at their eyes confirms they are reptilian. This movie is similar in some respect to The Matrix, where those who went into the Matrix had to have their consciousness uploaded. Eventually, this story ended with love being the one thing to cause a human being to cast away their bodies to live in an alternate state. And this is another reason why they introduced those visors. And people are walking around with these visors, living in an alternate place, in an alternate world. And they make life so miserable here that people that don't have Ruach HaKodesh will run out and get these visors to live in an alternate world. They're even telling you that you can, and I've seen like a little clip on it where you can even you could be eating, or you can imagine eating in a restaurant, but it's not food. It's just imaginary. I'm thinking, but that really does not make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. I mean, not their technology. Once you're awakened, right? Once you're awakened and you are made aware of their lies, then whenever they come with their technology, it would not fascinate you. You would just be scratching your head and thinking, well, this doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, same gender. Hollywood's glorification of the same gender love affairs and parenting to break up the traditional family unit and to introduce us to their abomination. So if you don't have the traditional family unit made up of a man, and a woman, 100% man, born male, 100% born female, then what do you have? What will be left? They'll be incapable of procreating. So they have to find other ways and means, which is where the baby pods come in. Back in the day, even though there were the rainbow people, the male acting like a female and the female acting like a male, they kept their genitalia. And to some degree, they do what they have to do to get children, the traditional way, even if they adopt it. But now, no, no, no. We have the baby pods, we can grow our own baby. All right. So let's look at their abomination. This show here, Will and Grace, that came out in the 90s, an indoctrination into loving that flaming man who is a girl's best friend because he is so in touch with his feminine side. And when I say flaming, I mean feminine. They tell us that flaming men make the best roommates and best friends because they understand what it is to be a woman. Impossible. A man could never, even if they're going to take all the different chemicals to change their bodies and go and take surgeries, they can never understand what it is to be a woman. Let me tell you something. Women don't even understand themselves. Furthermore, a man trying to understand a woman. There are days that we do have clarity of mind, but then there are times when we don't. Right? So this idea of a man that can be a woman and think like a woman is utter nonsense. And the same thing with women thinking that they can change their bodies to look like men and think like men and be like men is utter nonsense. We're two completely different people. And Alahayam, Yahweh created us this way. And that's what makes us a family unit. You have the men and you have the women. The women are the emotional beings, the men are the physical beings. And this is where the balance comes into the family. Unbelievable. And that's why they're trying now to make men today to be very effeminate, and they're trying to make women strong. Because this is a subtle way of saying, well, a feminine woman is no longer acceptable, and a masculine man is no longer acceptable. All right, let's read on. This is the biggest lie from the pit of hell, or at least one of the biggest lies. There's so many lies that these people come with. Oh my goodness. This comedy sitcom made the public fall in love with the flaming men because they are so quirky and funny. While at the same time, the Rainbow Coalition was launching a worldwide attack on men, desensitizing and normalizing this abomination. At the end of the day, it is Nephilim spirits that lead men into this act, and women too, not just men, but women too. They used to, back in the 70s and 80s, they used to call it a disease. And now they call it normal. It is none of the above. It is demonic possession. That's what it is. There's no such thing as a toxic male, only a toxic abomination. And this abomination is very toxic. Imagine leading them to the point now, it's not enough that they dress like a woman, men dressing like women and women dressing like men. Now they go and cut themselves up to look like a woman or to look like a man, to stop their normal chemical processes in their bodies in order to develop to look like the opposite gender. That's crazy. That's demonic possession. All right, let's move on to the next one. Although these two were supposed to be straight males, so I think, all right, but I don't know if they're brothers or something, but here is another reason why the baby pods will be happily accepted in the near future. Here we have two men raising a child to let us know that that same genders can raise their own children without the opposite gender. So like I said before, do not look at the story, do not look at the show, look at the message, the subliminal messaging that they're sending to program us. Because now when you go to any local elementary school, they have the books now where they're teaching children that if if Benny's two daddies, X, Y, and Z, or Susie's two mummies. It used to be mummy and daddy. No, it's two mummies or two daddies. So now they're indoctrinating the children in school to get them familiar with the fact that two men or two women can be parents to a child. And this is where the confusion is going to come in when these children grow up to be adults. They have redefined the definition of a man and definition of a woman. Imagine children growing up not knowing or understanding what it is to be a man or what it is to be a woman. And somebody's telling you you could be both. Or you could be anything you want to be. It doesn't even have to be a person. You could be an animal. Sheer confusion. Nephilim influence. I am sure that there are many other TV shows and movies that we can look at to see the programming and the brainwashing that was used and still being used on the masses. The idea for this study is to show that these television series and movies have their purposes and they are using entertainment as their method of delivery, subliminally installing their agendas in our hearts and in our minds. They have been studying us for a very long time now, and so they know how to best utilize their technology to achieve their evil goals. So, this is a comedy. Oh, yeah, they had these two men raising a child. There ain't nothing wrong with it. That was so funny, it's so cute. That's all they do. And this is how they break the ice. All right. So now we go on to black goo demonic possession. I don't know if you've noticed in some of the movies now they have this black goo that comes in and possess people. And this one, all it is it's demons, right? They're demons, but they're portrayed now as this black goo. So Hollywood wants to indoctrinate us into loving devils and demons enough to let them possess our bodies. All right, so we're going to look at this one here called Prometheus. And you see it has the black eyes. Remember we talked about the black eye children or the black eye adults? Yeah, look at it here. All right. We have to understand the meaning behind the name Prometheus. Prometheus is the name of a god, a Greek god or titan. It is the god of fire and forethought. Titans today are people who have godlike stature, are powerful and influential in certain fields. You can say that all the leaders that are running this world are titans. This should come as no surprise as they are all Nephilim. So we're not really going to get into the stories. A little for a little bit I give you the backdrop of the story only to explain the programming. All right? So this creature here is possessed with the black goo. That's why it has the black eyes. Now, the story behind this movie is about possession with an entity, a demon. It has no particular shape, just black goo. We have seen this black goo in other movies as they want us to know that this black goo will give extraordinary powers and abilities. It also has an appetite for blood and human flesh, human blood and human flesh, just like the Nephilim. In this movie, the woman became pregnant by a man who was infected with black goo, and she produced a hybrid species, which again is Nephilim. So that should remind us of the toxin that was given to people in 2022 and 2023. I don't know. I don't think anyone took it in 2024, right? Because it's starting to withdraw the same poisons now, right? But the children that were born from parents that didn't die, it doesn't matter if one parent had it or both, but the children were born with black eyes and incredible strength and growth. And their motor skills were beyond belief. All right, but they weren't very smart. They aren't smart. They're sleeves, right? Empty vessels until a demon possesses it. All right. So now we look at this creature called Venom. Again, this is Marvel. All right. Inspired movie which is showing more with this black goo. In this particular story, the black goo is looking for a particular host, as the scientists who had tried various other hosts found that they were destroyed by the goo. But this unassuming man became not this man here. He's a rebel. He came to rob her, and Venom came to her rescue. But I'll show you the guy in a minute. All right. But an unassuming man became the host for this demon called Venom. Venom is snake poison. So what is all this telling us who are awake? The toxin, which is snake venom, because it was created by the Nephilim, who are snake people, reptilians also, can only infect certain hosts without killing them. They have to have the right genome, in other words, the Nephilim bloodline, making them successful hosts. So not everyone can take the black goo. Not everyone can take the toxin. Many people died. Many people were dying or a slow death. And then there are others that remained alive because they had the right genome to handle the toxin. They're Nephilim with sleeping genetic material. Sleeping Nephilim genetic material that was awakened and was able to handle the poisons in their bodies. This will also enable them to have successful births, to add to this abominable race, as now the parents' Nephilim genome is triggered and activated. The children being born are Nephilim, although of lower class like serfs or slaves. Well, they'll be serfs and slaves. Serfs mean like servants, because now they become servants to the Nephilim and the fallen angels. All right? Because as slaves, they'll be possessed by the Nephilim spirits. But you see how pleased she looks? Now, if I was her, I'd be so shocked, I'd be running for the hills. But she is delighted because this creature here is coming to her rescue. All right, and look and see how tall it is compared to this one, because it's a giant. And look how ugly it is with this face. All right, let's look at the man who is possessed with this creature. Notice that the black goo absorbed his humanity. So he is inside the demon instead of the demon. But the demon's also inside him as well. Don't get me wrong. It's inside of him. But when he is normal looking, the demon is inside of him. But when he is activated, when he needs the power and the strength, then the demon comes out. And this is how it's showing us it is engulfing his humanity. You see the one eye symbol? All demonic, all evil. You see the veins, even the veins in his face, black goo. Until he's completely engulfed. Notice how the black goo absorbed his humanity, and now there are two different beings in one body, which is demonic possession. Now in the show, he commands him and restricts him as to what he can do, because this creature likes to eat human flesh and drink human blood. But this is not what demonic possession is. When you become demonically possessed, you have no control over the demons. Read the Bible for yourself and see it for yourself. So they're lying to the masses to make them think that if you become possessed with venom, with poison, that you have control over it. You have no control over it. None whatsoever. It has control over you. And you don't tell it what to do. It tells you what to do. It's a lie. Except in this case, the outward appearance is altered with this possession. This Nephilim spirit has great strength and lust for blood and human flesh. Yet it is portrayed as the better of its kind and a savior for mankind. What nonsense, right? This here is an evil creature. But the creatures after it are even more evil than this one, which makes it look good. Because now this one, Venom, fights against the evil creatures to preserve humanity. You see the deception? Unbelievable. There is humor used to get us to overlook the hideous creature's appearance, to fall in love with it because it is funny and quirky. Be not deceived. This is an evil, wicked spirit. Look at the way in which it is merging with the man, and although this is Hollywood, it is still telling us what we know is real, that demonic possession takes over our bodies, our minds, and our will. Therefore, a loss of control. You don't control it, it controls you. The only spirit that should be in us is Ruach HaKadosh, as according to the word of Alahayam Yahweh. And when he comes in to take residence in us, he does not treat us like demons treat their host. We still have a will, although he will encourage us to do the right thing, but we still have a will. But in this, when you're demonically possessed, you have to do what the demons are telling you to do. There is a boy in the Bible that the father came to Yahushua and begged him to come and heal his son, because the demons would cast him, because he was demonically possessed. The demons would cast him in the fire and then cast him in the water, back and forth, back and forth. He had no control over himself until Yahushua came and cast those demons out. And what was the power that he is Alahayam, but Yahushua gave to his disciples? The power to cast out demons. These same demonic spirits. These same evil spirits. And yet we will look at this and laugh and enjoy it and think, and let them plant an idea and cast spells over our minds to program us. What a hideous demonic creature. Yet many people will be its fan and even look forward to more movies with this one in it. I included this particular picture because it seems as if Hollywood is either incapable of being creative as far as their demons' appearances are concerned, or are they telling us something and we are not paying attention? Take a careful look at this entity and now the next one and do a comparison. You will soon find that we are being programmed to accept a certain hideous looking creature. Now, in horror flicks, when we see hideous creatures like this, we think they're evil and they always come across as the evil entity, right? But now they are glorifying the hideousness of a creature to make it the good guy. Even though it is evil, Revelation chapter 20, verse 10. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast, which is the Satan, and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. So there's only one place waiting for these creatures, and that is the lake of fire. And this is the next picture that I wanted us to compare this to. Look at the shape of the head. And this one is called alien. Notice the shape of this creature's head, and especially when it opens its mouth. Right? So when it opens its mouth, it has a mouth looking like this. Like Venom's mouth. Yet the body shape is different. Yes, the body shape is different, yet this creature's head and mouth is just like Venom's. So Venom has a human-like body shape, where this one has like this hideous creature's shape. All these legs and whatnot. This evil-looking creature is not for the horror aspect of the movie, but rather this is how their evil Nephilim spirits look like in the spiritual realm. Of course, they show themselves to their children, but you have to be an elite to see them and not a serf. You can't be one of these lowly people that were born and possessed by demonic spirits to see them. You gotta be one of the elite, because this is who they pray to. This is who they take their orders from. When they go into their little secret chambers and carry out their secret rituals to cause them to come forth. And that's why when they show the movies, they're showing you what they're worshiping, who they're worshiping. All right? So don't kid yourself that this is somebody's imagination. All right. Wake up. So this here is Sigourney Weaver, the actress. This is her. I think this is a later movie. She has no hair, but this is when she first did the movie. And this is the same creature behind you. You see the mouth? Looks just like Venom. Looks just like Venom. Now you can see the creature, alien, clearly. You know, alien is demon. It may not have a humanoid body, but it has that same look as Venom. Talking about the head and the mouth and what have you. Now, the reason why this creature is behind this actress is because in this show, she was impregnated with an alien creature. She became a host for this creature, as all other potential hosts had died. Just like in Venom. She survived because she had the right genome, just like the guy in Venom. This is the message behind these demonic shows. There are only particular people who will make adequate hosts for their demonic genome, for the demonic possession. You have to have the right makeup and mindset too. And this is her when she was pregnant with it. Now, because this person carried the alien creature, it now had a matriarchal relationship with the offspring she carried. It saw her as mom. Although it was an embryo that the alien impregnated her with, in order for the creature to survive inside of her, there will be symbiosis between the two, where they will be both sharing each other's genetic material. In other words, this human carrying the alien is now corrupted genetically to be a Nephilim. And that's why the creature called it mom. I would never kill her. Now we move on to Spider-Man. We're almost finished, don't worry. Here they're letting us know that possession can come either while you're awake or when you're sleeping. So in Venom, he was awake, and here we see the creature here. This is it here, the shadow of it, but it's not really a shadow. This is it here, but it's coming for him. And it doesn't matter how strong and gifted you are, you can still be a host if you have the right genome. So this is Spider-Man that's supposed to have great strength and agilities and what have you, and agility. and abilities, but yet there was something going on with him that caused the darkness to come. He was having some very dark dreams. It was almost like a welcome for the devils to come and possess him. Yet, if you are filled with the light of Alahayam, you cannot be a host for demonic possession. This black goo is representative of darkness and demonic spirits. Therefore, if you are of the light, it will hate you and would not come near. So let's look at the book of Yahanan chapter 8, book of John chapter 8, verse 12. Then spoke Yahweh again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. So already the reason why he can become possessed is because this here also is a hybrid. Spider-Man is a hybrid. Part spider, part human. Well, I shouldn't say parts. Well, it was infected with spider venom and became spider-like. All right? So yes, it is a hybrid. Perfect host for this creature. And if you notice, I've included scriptures all along because this is some pretty dark stuff, okay? And we can't forget who we are serving. And while he slept, the black goo took over his body. You see? He had no control until it was too late. With all his superpowers, he was helpless to resist the takeover. So you see the one eye symbolism here? They're telling you in plain sight who this is all about, what this is all about, what this thing is, and who he is, even Spider-Man. All evil, demonic creatures. But they try to make you think that he is a superhero and he's out there to help the innocent and the helpless. But it's all demonic stuff. There's no such thing as a superhero. All right? No such thing as a superhero. That was a phrase that was coined by Marvel and then Hollywood to make you think that a person can enhance themselves by being infected by another species or be demonically possessed. It's all a lie from the pit of hell. You hear me? Do not love these shows. Do not love these pictures. Stay away from them. Especially knowing now that they have been using them to program us for generations. Stay away from them. I don't watch this garbage. And anytime that I'm led to watch something, it's for information. That's how I'm able to give you the information. You don't need to go and watch it. All right, let's move on. Now we're going to go to hybrids. Human hybrids. So Hollywood is preparing us for the coming hybrids. If you doubt this, go to the book of Revelation and read about the creatures of darkness. So in the book of Revelation, those creatures that come out from the creatures that come out from the bottomless pit, those are the fallen angels. But there are creatures that the armies were riding upon. They had heads of lions, tails of a serpent, so on and so forth. Those are hybrids. All right. And even and there have been other hybrids, human hybrids, in the sense that when they give you the toxin and they infect you with whatever technology is in that vial, you know, are a hybrid, a human hybrid, right? But we're going to look at human hybrids from another point of view in their technologies. We're going to look at that. Oh, is it their technologies? Or maybe part 3. But we'll see. But this topic is going to come back up again because they're infecting animals with human genome. All right, so those animals now, because they have our genetic material, they're considered human hybrids, or they're considered just hybrids. All right. So anyone that changes their genome, you become a hybrid. It doesn't matter if it's nanotechnology or a creature, you are a hybrid. Even though you might look human, even though you might not have the features of an animal or a creature, you're still a hybrid. All right. Let's look at this one here called Morbius. Now, if you have noticed, the movies and television shows being put out are giving us a clue as to what they think of mankind. After going through all these slides, you got to know now that these people just don't like human beings. They don't like people. Regular, the people that were born the normal way, the correct way, the only way. They don't like us. They hate mankind and want us to hate ourselves enough to do something drastic about it. Here in this movie, a man who was a doctor was very ill and found a way to cure himself, except now he's a hybrid, half man and half bat. And on top of that, he would prey on people because he loved human flesh and human blood. So even though he's out there, saving people, he's also out there eating people. Unbelievable. So let us look at some more of these hybrids being sold to us as a way to change or enhance our genome. So we have Spider-Man. We know he's man and spider. Morbius, man and bat. Venom, man and alien slash black goo slash demons. Alien, which is woman, and alien, because when she became impregnated with it, she took on its genome. Prometheus, in the movie Prometheus, the woman with the alien slash black goo and demon, because she became infected because of the man. The man was infected and he passed the infection on to her, the black goo onto her. Now, Lucy, we're going to see that in the next slide, is short for Lucifer. And this is woman and technology or nanobots, right? Then we have the Borg, which is man and machinery or technology. And then we have $6 million man and $6 million woman, which is man and woman and machine or technology. All right? This is how they're introducing hybrids, the thought of being a hybrid. All right? Because they do not like us as we are. These are just a few of their human hybrids that we are currently discussing, but there are many others that have been introduced through Marvel Comics and DC Comics and Hollywood and Netflix. They are there to program the minds of people and at the same time to desensitize us about these demonic hybrids. No, you look at this is so evil and demonic. Why would you want to watch this? I only pulled this up because I was looking for hybrids, but I would never watch something like this ever. I think I did watch Venom a long time ago, but it came out with part 2 and I don't even know if there's a part 3, but I would never watch it. Why? What for? I saw what I wanted to see, and that is the black goo, and that's enough for me. I'm not a big fan of Spider-Man or any of these other shows. And for that matter, even now, I'm even less inclined to watch these shows. You have the Avengers. I think I watched the first one, right? But they're filled with superheroes that are either from a different planet, like Thor, or they are enhanced. Like Captain America was enhanced genetically. I watched that too. I'm telling on myself, I watched these shows back then when I didn't know any better. All right. But there came a time when I was like, no more. I am not interested in the entertainment. So when they came up with 2 and 3 and 4, I'm like, no. Even when it came on television, I wasn't interested. There was something deep inside of me. It was like, no, don't even go there. And that's Rawat HaKadash. But when you are in love with these characters, that's because you're programmed. And then when you deny the truth about them, now you're brainwashed into thinking it is nothing but entertainment. And that's exactly where they want us. Okay, let's move on. Notice that Hollywood does not take away the creature's lust for human blood and human flesh to consume, as it is another way to desensitize us about cannibalism, another abomination. So he loves human flesh and human blood. Venom loves human flesh and human blood. The same thing with Alien. All these creatures, Prometheus, anybody that became infected, they became predators. All right? Because they are desensitizing us to human flesh and eating human blood. We're going to see that in the next study. All right? When we look at their technologies and what they're doing to normalize human flesh and how to eat it to make it seem like it is normal and natural. Turn it into a burger. That sort of thing. Turn it into salami or pepperoni. All kinds of garbage. And people will be curious enough to try it because of these shows. And then you become an abomination. Okay, let's move on. Now we have the show Lucy. I did see this one as well. And it's quite entertaining because, she's a fighter and everything. Here, one eye symbol. I show you all the genetic code here. This is the D-N-A- code here. All right? This is what makes us human people. The GT and A, I think that's what they are. Yeah, GT, C, and A. So the name Lucy is shortened for Lucifer. And just looking, name Lucy, short for Lucifer, one eye symbol, one eye God who is Lucifer, Ra, whatever you want to call it, right? And even the message behind this show. All right, let's read on. The name Lucy is shortened for Lucifer, the demonic force behind this woman and her abilities. In the story, she was abducted and forced to be a drug mule. A peculiar synthetic drug was surgically placed inside of her, and it leaked into her bloodstream, making her like a walking quantum computer capable of extraordinary feats and agilities. She was so in tune with the molecules in the air, molecules around her. All right? She changed rapidly from being a human being until she became a flash drive where she will be able to be uploaded uploading much like uploading one's consciousness. So she was changing because the technology inside of her that was leaked inside her bloodstream changed her genome until she was no longer a person, but she became a computer. Well, she became data and she turned herself into a flash drive that then you can plug it into a computer and upload her. This is none other than nanotechnology that had infiltrated her and changed her into technology, which is Nephilim technology. Notice the one eye symbol to let us know who is really behind this abomination. And here we see that Lucy can change herself, her environment with an effortless thought. Notice the kind of hand she chose. So she changed her hand while talking to the scientists. And look at the kind of hand she chose, a reptilian hand. Because these creatures, they serve and worship reptilian, well, we call them reptilian gods, angels, fallen angels, demonic spirits, what have you, all the same thing. But she was there changing herself to show that she can change into whatever she wants to be. But she chose this hand. A reptilian hand with scales and webbed fingers, more programming for the masses. Now, this is a quotation that I got concerning this story, right? As she reaches higher levels of consciousness, Lucy questions the limitations of humanity and the purpose of life itself. Lucy is a metaphorical representation of humanity's potential for growth and enlightenment. In other words, demonic possession or by becoming a hybrid. So you see what they're trying to do. They're programming us to think that we as people, as mankind, we are limited. But we can become unlimited, just like Lucy, if we allow ourselves to be merged either with machine or with demonic possession. Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. And there are people that will be fascinated enough to try it. Look at when they're putting out those chips in the hands so you don't have to carry a credit card. You just scan your hand. Whatever. Right? People ran to get that. But they're going to present it in a much better way now where people, everything will be on that one chip, not just your credit card, but everything about you will be on that chip. They probably even have that already. All right, let's look at the last picture that we're going to be looking at. Lucifer is glorified. So they glorified every abomination on this earth. Now they're glorifying Satan himself. Hollywood is leading the world to satanic worship, which we can see clearly is currently happening today. Even children now are exposed to this abomination. So they have the after school Satan's club. Can you imagine? They couldn't bring that stuff out in my day. The parents would come up with their forks and knives and axes and whatnot and chop these people up. I kid you not. And yet they would try to tell you that, oh no, we're just teaching the children to be open minded. It has nothing to do with Satan. To question everything outside the box. Unbelievable. And this is this creature. Doesn't he look like David? Blaine? Looks just as evil, even though it's an actor, but portraying the character very well. Finally, we end this slideshow with a show called Lucifer. Yes, the devil who is Satan called Lucifer. Yeah, they actually have a show called Lucifer. Apparently, Lucifer got bored in hell and decided to come on earth to help mankind to solve their crime problems. The problems that he created. But somehow, he wants to be a hero now. Lucifer eventually falls in love with a policewoman, marries her, and they both have a daughter named Aurora Morningstar. How sweet. Give them a story, right? So that we can feel that they're normal, that they're just like us, except they have exceptional powers. I see how easily we fall in love with the characters to the point where we start to believe who they are, who they say they are, instead of what the Bible says that they are. The Bible says explicitly that this whole creature here is a demon, is a devil. And there's only one place for this creature here. Satan, the fallen angels, the Nephilim spirits, and anyone that follows them. You see this fire here? It's called the lake of fire. There's no good in these devils. No, not even a drop of goodness in these creatures. But they are being glorified because the Satans and the fallen angels have been cast down to the earth. They know their time is short. So they're running rampant to corrupt as many people as they possibly can. And so they're using their technologies and what have you to program and brainwash people. If you have been following along in this series, you will know that the watchers who were fallen angels took wives and had children by them, which were hybrids, giants called the Nephilim, a fallen and doomed race. Now we see in this show the very same thing taking place. A fallen angel cohabitating with a woman, cohabitating with a woman, creating their own hybrid being. Do we need to say much more on this? So they're glorifying hybrids and cohabitating with the devils, demon possession, all kinds of abominations. This show is an abomination. Even the name. I don't even want to see a trailer for this one. I am not curious. I don't know. I don't care. And it's not just a show. I know someone who did some work because he's an actor. He's not really a friend, just someone that I know because of his mother. And his mother was supposed to be a Christian, this older lady. And one day he came home because I was visiting the mother. And so I asked him which show he's working on. He said, well, I don't really want to tell you because you will be offended. I said, why would I be offended? It's your problem, not mine. And then he said, okay, yeah, I was working on this show called Lucifer. Right? Because he knew at that time I was a Christian. This is before I was awakened. He knew that his mother and I would be offended. But I wasn't really offended. I was like, whatever you want to do with your life, son, is up to you. You already know. You see, he already knew that what he was doing was wrong. That's why he hid it from her. He was hiding it from me. And if he wasn't feeling condemned about it or convicted about it, he would not have hid it. But he already knew he was wrong. That's why he hid it. Right? But these creatures, these creatures are here. And they're here to draw us away from the light and into not only into their darkness, but to corrupt us, to change us on a spiritual level, yes, and even on a physical level, and even on a chemical level. Speaking of our genetics, they want to change us. And because, and if you remember back in the day, 2022, people that refused to take the toxin, they were called anti-something, right? Because people rejected it. And they were told, the brainwashed people that took it were told that we, the pure-blooded people, were the enemy. The enemies, their enemies. Even though they know that we are friends or family members that are looking out for their best interest. These devils here brainwashed them. And even to this day, they still think that we are the enemies. Their enemies. All right, let's finish off now with some scripture. Now we can see the programming and the indoctrination that have been used to form our thoughts, ideas, and even our actions. And this is for us in the past when we didn't know any better. But now that we have been awakened, we know better. So we can look at this and say, you know what, Father? I repent. I repent that I even believed in this garbage. All right? It is denial and ignorance to believe otherwise, that these are just movies and television shows to entertain us. It is not entertainment. It comes in the form of entertainment to program our minds with the hope of brainwashing us. Let us look at the words they use to indoctrinate us without us being aware. Now we look at the word television. Tele means transmission over a distance, and vision means the ability to see something seen in a dream or as a trance, like a supernatural appearance. Therefore, television is the transmission over long distance. Speaking of the realm of darkness now, that's where the transmission is coming from. Darkness. And they want you to see what they want you to see. So that's why there's the television. Especially the unthinkable, like the demons. So they introduce their demons and their abominations through television. This is their method, their delivery. Now, the television has channels which we can view said transmissions. So, a channel is a means of communication which mediums use to channel evil spirits. So, this is what the televisions do: is channeling evil spirits to us. It's transmitting from the darkness and channeling this darkness to us. Remember, I said some time ago, be careful what you watch and when you watch it. Because what you view is opening a portal in your life and in your realm, in your home. Because of the channeling. Each channel have programs which are used to program or control us with their indoctrination. So now you have another level of how they indoctrinate us using the programming that comes from the channeling, which comes from the darkness, the realm of darkness. Now, when you look at the word website, a web is used by spiders to catch prey for their food. Therefore, a website is technology used to trap us at a particular location with the promise of information sharing. So you go to a website looking for information, but you're also trapped because whatever information they give to you, depending on whether or not it is a truthful site, it could also be damaging to you. It could also be programming you. That's why you have to be careful where you go and get your information. But they use these words just like avatar. All right? Avatar is about demonic possession. But people would not see it as that because it is used on the internet as a way to show an image of yourself other than your true image, your true picture. You can choose an avatar. Right? And then they brought out the movie. So no, the word avatar is nothing demonic or evil, it's something good. All right? That's why we have to be so careful and be walking in the light always and be prayerful always. That's why I did that video before talking about telling you to be it was a warning. All right? Because these techniques that these creatures have developed over the generations is so subtle and yet so dangerous and so evil that we have to be careful. All right? And the only way in which we can overcome is with the light. No other way. If you think that you can overcome it with your intelligence, think again. They're the ones who give you the information that you call intelligence. You go read books. Who do you think wrote those books? Even the Bible is tampered with. And you need Ruach HaKodesh to help you to glean through what was tampered. How you can do that on your own. Now, in fact, the information has become very biased, favoring the ones who want to program us. Need we say anymore? So now when you go on the internet, it is very biased. one-sided, favoring their indoctrination, their programming. Can't find independent studies that you used to before. Revelation chapter 21, verse 6. And he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Tha, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his Alahayam, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. So you see that long list of creatures that are heading, even people that are heading for the lake of fire? All right. Fearful is number one. So if you're living in fear, you will submit to these devils and do what they say to do. And fear is the opposite of faith. We have a choice to believe what we want to believe in. Unfortunately, many of our brethren are programmed and brainwashed deeply, where they are offended by the truth, even if the truth is in plain sight. This is another tactic of the Nephilim, to hide the truth about their plans and agendas in plain sight. Yet they cannot be seen because there is blindness and ignorance obscuring our vision. The only way in which we will be able to see is if the light dwells within us, and that light is the truth, who is Hamashiach. Without Hamashiach, we will be in bondage because of the lies and deception that is great upon the earth. Therefore, anyone who denies Hamashiach will inevitably be doomed for utter destruction. Why? Because if you deny Hamashiach, he will not release his Ruach HaKadosh to come to you. So you are under the wrath of Alahayam, doomed for destruction. End of story. You can't find your way into the kingdom. You can't work your way into the kingdom. Your righteousness is as the righteousness of a filthy rag, a menstruous cloth, in other words, filthy and wretched. And the only righteousness that is accepted by Alahayam Yahweh is the righteousness of his Son, which cloaks us when we believe in his Son and walk in his commandments. All right. Yowachanan chapter 8, verse 31. Then said Yahweh to those Yahweh who believed in him, if you continue in my word, then are you my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. When we were not aware of our identity and who Alahayam Yahweh is, we were in bondage to sin, and we were also in bondage to the darkness, which is the same thing, really. But when we came to the light and we repented of our sins and we accepted Hamashiach as our Savior because of the what he did on the stake, his death on the stake allowed us to be redeemed to the Father, because his blood now could apply and atone us of our sins. His blood is accepted by the Father. And when that occurs, all right, then we become his disciples. Ruach HaKadosh is released to us, and he dwells in us. And he continues on to purify us, to refine us, to remove the dead branches, what have you, to reveal the truth within us so that we now become the vessel of light, cloaked in the righteousness of the Son. And now we are free. Well, we were free when we accepted Hamashiach as our Savior. That's where our freedom begins. But remember, we have been walking in years upon years of sin. And there are just some things that we have hidden away that we don't want even to see the light of day, that can come back and haunt us in the future. And those are the hidden things that that Ruach HaKodesh likes to go in to search out and to pull out, so that we can be completely free. There's nothing to hinder us, nothing to withhold us from Him. And when we view now these things that we see every day, the movies, the television shows, or the social media, what have you, now He can help us to put things in perspective, to say to us, that's not from me. Don't believe it. Don't look at it. Don't even give it a thought. Remove yourself or remove it from your presence. All right? And that's when the programming has come to an end. They can't program us anymore. Forget about the brainwashing. Brainwashing is not there, but the programming can come in subtle ways to draw us to be brainwashed. All right? So that's the ending of part 1. And I will complete this study now with the blessing for Yashua taken from Ba Madabar chapter 6 verses 24 to 26. This is the book of Numbers chapter 6 verses 24 to 26. Yabarakak Yahweh wa Yashamarak. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahweh panayo alayak wa yahanak. May Yahweh cause His face to shine upon you, to have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahweh panayo alayak wa yashamlak Shalawam. May Yahweh lift up His face upon you and give you peace. And now we're going to recite the command that Alahayam told us to recite when we lie down, when we get up, when we go out, and when we come in. Taken from the Barayam chapter 6, chapter 6 verses 24, chapter 6 verses 4 and 5. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verses 4 and 5. Shama'o Yashwa'al. Shama'o Yashwa'al Yahweh Alahayana Yahweh Achad wa Ahabath Yahweh Alahayak Bakal Babak Wabakal Napashat Wabakal Ma'adak. Hear, O Yashwa'al, Yahweh our Alahayam is one Yahweh, and you shall love Yahweh your Alahayam with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And with that I will say, Shalawam, Shalawam. All praises to the Most High, Abba Yah.